Before we start, this video is brought to you by Anderson Prints. Whether it's for your bedroom or college dorm, these high-quality canvas prints are perfect for any sports fan. With hundreds of unique combinations of sizes, sports, and even custom orders, these canvases are the best way to add some life to your walls. Purchase on Etsy with the link in my bio and use code REAPS for 10% off your order. With this year's draft coming up, it's time for my annual list of every NHL team's top prospect. We're going to count down every organization's most prized possession before new prospects are brought into the mix. If you disagree with any of my picks, make sure to tell me who and why in the comment section down below. So without any further ado, we'll get right into it. For the Anaheim Ducks, Troy Terry. The 21-year-old was hoping to make a bigger impact on the Ducks this past season. However, after just 13 points in 32 games, he was sent down to AHL San Diego. In 41 games there, the professional rookie took over offensively, scoring 16 goals and 25 assists for the Gulls. Weighing in at just 180 pounds, the Ducks are hoping he'll bulk up a bit over the summer, but you can expect him in the NHL lineup on opening night. For the Arizona Coyotes, Barrett Hayton. A bit of a surprising pick at 5th overall in last year's draft, the Arizona Coyotes must be relieved, as Hayton met the lofty expectations placed on him. He captained the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds this season while scoring 26 goals and 40 assists for 66 points in just 39 games, and added 4 assists for Canada in 5 World Junior games. In the OHL playoffs, he continued to dominate as he led the way with 16 points in 11 games before their run was cut short. As a 6'1" center, he plays a complete 200-foot game and is on track to make an impact for the Coyotes, most likely in the 2020-21 season. For the Boston Bruins, Urho Vikinen. The Bruins' 2017 first-round draft pick made the transition from Finland to North America this season, so there was an anticipated learning curve. He held his own enough in AHL Providence to earn a call-up in the first half of the season, but his 2-game stint ended quickly with a concussion. His skating skills are translating well to North American ice. However, at just 20 years old, I'd expect him to spend a couple more years in the AHL, but he's definitely on the right track. For the Buffalo Sabres, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. One of the top-ranked goaltending prospects in hockey, Luukkonen was taken in the second round by the Sabres in 2017. This year, he finally made his North American transition once he was drafted by the Sudbury Wolves of the OHL in the import draft. His massive 6'5" frame helped his transition to the smaller ice surface, as he put up a .920 save percentage and a 2.5 goals against average across 53 OHL games. At the conclusion of his OHL season, he joined Buffalo's AHL affiliate in Rochester for a game where he definitely impressed Sabres management with a .941 save percentage. Although his results were not outstanding in the OHL this past season, the potential is still there with his size and skill. Still just 20 years old, you'll see him in Rochester for the next couple of years before he's ready for full-time duty. For the Calgary Flames, Juuso Valimaki. The Flames' 16th overall pick in 2017 has been deceivingly good the last couple of years. He made the Flames at a training camp before an ankle sprain sidelined him and sent him down to the AHL to regain his confidence. He ended up missing nearly half of the year, playing 24 games with the Flames and 20 games in Stockton, their AHL affiliate. However, it's those 20 games in Stockton that is keeping everyone excited about him. He put up 14 points as a 20-year-old defenseman and proved that his size and speed is nearly NHL ready. Although he needs to keep working on his quickness, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the Flames' blue line next season. For the Carolina Hurricanes, Martin Necas. Last year's number 8 prospect sees a big upgrade in this year's rankings, as he completed his first full season in North America. Last season he was loaned back to the Czech Pro League after playing in just 1 NHL game. This year he once again made the team at a camp, but recorded just 1 goal and 1 assist across his first 7 games, so he was sent down to the AHL Charlotte Checkers in order to keep better tabs on his development, as well as to further transition him to the smaller ice surface. As a third-year pro, despite being just 20 years old, Necas did not like out of place at all, as he torched the league for 52 points in 64 games. In the AHL playoffs this season, Necas has kept up his scoring pace with 7 points in 13 games as the Checkers are headed to the Calder Cup finals. Although he needs more improvement on the defensive side of the puck, you can still expect him to challenge for a top 6 role on the Hurricanes next season. For the Chicago Blackhawks, Adam Boqvist. Last year's 8th overall pick by the Chicago Blackhawks had a great adjustment season in his first year in North America. Transitioning from the Swedish Pro League to the perennial powerhouse London Knights of the OHL was a blessing for his development. Advertised as a dynamic offensive defenseman, he flashed his potential while adjusting to the tighter confines of North American ice with a 60-point output in 54 games, as well as an impressive 10-goal and 3-assist performance in 11 OHL playoff games. He's still a couple years away from the NHL, but I expect him to consistently rise on these rankings over the coming years as he develops into an elite puck-moving defenseman. For the Colorado Avalanche, Cale Makar. The nearly unanimous #1 prospect in hockey, Cale Makar has continued to prove every doubter wrong. He was my first ranked prospect a couple weeks ago, as his trajectory this past season has slingshotted him up my rankings. He returned to the NCAA as captain at UMass Amherst this season and immediately looked out of place. He made a mockery of college hockey, scoring 49 points in 41 games, and led the Minutemen to the national championship game. Within 24 hours of their loss, he was headed to the NHL playoffs for the Avalanche, where the quick, smooth-skating defenseman was a stud on the back end with 1 goal and 5 assists in his first 10 NHL games. It's amazing how well Makar jumped right into playoff hockey, and you can expect him to be a difference maker starting in Game 1 next season. For the Columbus Blue Jackets, Liam Foudy. The Jackets' 18th overall pick from last June has been turning a lot of heads with his play since the draft. He's an elite skater who is on track to being a dynamic top 6 forward at the NHL level in a couple of years. This season he put up 36 goals and 32 assists for 68 points in 62 games with the London Knights before adding 12 more points in their 11-game playoff run. After their elimination, he joined AHL Cleveland for their playoffs, where he was able to chip in 2 goals in 8 games. Although the 19-year-old is still years away from the NHL, Foudy's speed shows his potential every time he's on the ice. Expect him to tear up the OHL next season, followed by a full year in the AHL before he's ready for the show. For the Dallas Stars, Ty Dellandrea. The Stars' 13th overall pick from last draft is still extremely young, but took on a huge role this past season. Despite still being just 18 years old, Dellandrea captained the Flint Firebirds this season. The team itself was horrible. Dellandrea was pretty much the only shining light on the team and received much of the focus defensively from their opponents. Regardless, Dellandrea was able to battle it out for 22 goals and 41 assists for 63 points in 60 games in the OHL. After the season, he joined AHL Texas for their end of the regular season, where he scored 3 points in 11 games, but showed that he still needs more development in his game. He'll be back in the OHL next season and will be among the top players in the league and should play a large role on Team Canada's World Junior squad. For the Detroit Red Wings, Filip Zadina. The Detroit Red Wings happily snatched up the highly ranked prospect at 6 overall last draft, and he did not disappoint this season. Although a lot of people disagree with me ranking him as the 5th best prospect in hockey in one of my previous videos, I still think he has a lot of potential to his game. As a 19-year-old AHL rookie, Zadina put up 35 points in 57 games before his 9-game, 3-point stint with the Red Wings at the end of the season. I wouldn't say Zadina looked out of place during his call-up, but he could still be 50-50 for making the big club next season. The Red Wings are notorious for being patient with development, and he may not be an exception. So for now, I think another season in Grand Rapids would be great for his development, as there's no rush in Detroit right now. For the Edmonton Oilers, Evan Bouchard. After being taken 10th overall by the Edmonton Oilers last June, the 6'2" defenseman made the opening night roster, but played in only 7 games, scoring 1 goal and going -5 before being sent back to the London Knights of the OHL. From there, the offensive defenseman went on to score 16 goals and 37 assists for 53 points across 45 games. A slightly disappointing total compared to his draft year, but still nothing to worry about. He went on to dominate in the OHL playoffs, scoring 21 points in 11 games for the Knights before being eliminated. Then he joined Edmonton's AHL affiliate Bakersfield for their playoff run, where he racked up 3 goals and 5 assists in their 8-game run to the division finals. Although he had a much improved season, I think Edmonton still needs to take it slow with him, and he needs 1 more season minimum away from the NHL before he's ready for full-time duty. For the Florida Panthers, Grigory Denisenko. Last summer's 15th overall pick by the Florida Panthers had a typical season for a young Russian prospect, as he bounced around from the KHL to the VHL to the MHL. Playing in the KHL at all as an 18-year-old is a remarkable accomplishment, as player development isn't really at the forefront over there. However, Denisenko is still able to play in 25 games for Lokomotiv Yaroslavl, scoring 4 goals and 2 assists for 6 points. Although this seems disappointing, the KHL is an extremely challenging league for a young player to break into, let alone get significant ice time and points. Against his own age group, Denisenko dominated, as the shifty 5'11" winger led the World Juniors in points with 5 goals and 4 assists in 7 games. He'll spend at least 1 more year in Russia before coming over to North America, but he's expected to take on a bigger role over there next season. He was my 8th ranked NHL prospect for 2019, and I personally think he's one of the most underrated prospects in the hockey world. For the LA Kings, Rasmus Kupari. Kupari spent his 2nd straight season playing against men in the top professional league in Finland, and as expected, he took an even bigger step up. Playing for Kärpät, he was able to put 12 goals and 21 assists for 33 points in 43 Liga games, while also leading Finland to a gold medal at the World Juniors. Kupari's game is all about speed, and that's what he relies on for scoring chances, so once he improves on his shot and adds some muscle, he'll be ready for the Kings. For the Minnesota Wild, Karel Kaprizov. Since Minnesota has a rather weak prospect pool, Kaprizov has been a mainstay on this list, and most likely will continue to be. He's yet to come over to North America since being drafted 135th overall in 2015, but he's been dominating in the KHL for years now. This season he finished 11th in league scoring with 30 goals and 21 assists in 57 games. Consistent communication between Minnesota and him continues to provide hope that he will come over soon. However, his contract with CSKA Moscow lasts until 2020-21. Currently at 22 years old, he's the only shining light in a rather dull prospect pool for the Wild, but when he eventually comes over, he will immediately be placed into the top 6 and will be difference maker right away. For the Montreal Canadiens, Nick Suzuki. Since I took some heat in my last prospect video, I do regret not including Suzuki in my top 15 list. I definitely overlooked him, however now I see his skill and potential. At 5'11", he will most likely shift to wing at the NHL level. After failing to impress in training camp last year, the 18-year-old Kotkaniemi took his place and Suzuki was sent back to the O. He racked up nearly 100 points and was named playoffs MVP on their way to the title. However, he was nearly invisible for Canada at the World Juniors. There's definitely a spot for him to step into the Canadiens lineup next season, however it will all come down to his attitude entering this summer. For the Nashville Predators, Eeli Tolvanen. Last year's second-ranked prospect in my rankings had quite the fall from grace. After a 2017-2018 season that dazzled the entire hockey world, Tolvanen came over to North America for the full 2018-19 season and disappointed his lofty expectations. He scored just 15 goals and 20 assists for 35 points in 58 games for the Milwaukee Admirals in the AHL before going pointless in their 5-game playoff run. Despite this, Tolvanen showed some promise in his 4-game NHL call-up in December, where he recorded a goal and an assist. Since he's still 20 years old, Tolvanen still has the potential to reach his high expectations. However, he'll need to continue to improve on his skating and develop in the AHL for a little while longer. For the New Jersey Devils, Ty Smith. Another player that should have been on my top 15 list, Ty Smith had an excellent season. After being drafted 17th overall last draft, Smith went on to score 69 points in 57 games for the Spokane Chiefs and was named CHL Defenseman of the Year. His speed at 5'11", as well as his offensive prowess and puck-moving ability, makes him the ideal model of the modern-day defenseman. Although he's just 19, the Devils' lack of talent on the back end gives him a realistic chance to make the opening night roster. For the New York Islanders, Ilya Sorokin. Despite the emergence of Robin Lehner, Ilya Sorokin is the goaltender of the future for the New York Islanders. Since being taken 78th overall in 2014, Sorokin has gone on to dominate in the KHL. He led CSKA Moscow to the Gagarin Cup Championship this season, while providing an astounding .947 save percentage in the playoffs and being named playoffs MVP, and that amazing performance was on top of a .940 save percentage across 40 games in the regular season. Although he signed in the KHL through 2020, when he eventually comes over, he'll be around 25 years old and should be one of the most NHL-ready goaltending rookies that we've ever seen. For the New York Rangers, Vitaly Kravtsov. After last-minute rise up the prospect rankings last summer, the Rangers took Kravtsov at 9th overall last draft. This season, he spent the entire year in the KHL, something incredibly rare for a 19-year-old, and continued to impress with 21 points in 50 games for Tractor Chelyabinsk, and was even named to the KHL All-Star team. In the World Juniors, he didn't dominate as some anticipated, but he still impressed amongst his peers, scoring 6 points in 7 games for Russia. The Rangers are expecting he will come over to North America next season and play in the AHL, where they can keep better eyes on his development and add him to their quickly expanding young core of the future. For the Ottawa Senators, Erik Brannstrom. The 15th overall draft pick by Vegas in 2017 was traded to the Ottawa Senators as the main piece in the Mark Stone trade. He started the year with Vegas' AHL team in Chicago, where he impressed as a 19-year-old rookie, scoring 21 points in 41 games with a +1 rating. He also captained Team Sweden at the World Juniors, scoring 4 goals in 5 games and being named to the All-Tournament team. Following this trade to Ottawa, he may have fallen victim to the shit show, as he struggled to adjust with just 4 assists in 9 games before being called up for a 2-game end-of-the-year stint with the Senators. He's a top skater with excellent hockey vision and plays an NHL-ready game, so I wouldn't at all be surprised if he steps right into the Senators lineup next season. For the Philadelphia Flyers, Morgan Frost. The 27th overall draft pick from 2017 has progressed quite nicely for the Flyers. At 6 foot, he's slightly undersized for a center, but he makes up for it with his dynamic skating and hockey sense. For the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds of the OHL, Frost is coming off his second straight season of over 100 points. This year, the playmaker recorded 37 goals and a whopping 72 assists for 109 points in 58 games, while also scoring 8 points in 5 World Junior games for Canada. At 20 years old, Frost has the offensive skills to make the Flyers out of a training camp. I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with the team all season in a top 9 role. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, Calen Addison. The Penguins have an extremely weak prospect pool. In fact, the Hockey News ranked them last in the league, so the Pens have a lot of work to do with the draft if they plan on reinvigorating the prospect covered. Calen Addison, their 53rd overall pick last draft, is a 5'10" mobile defenseman in the WHL. For the Lethbridge Hurricanes, Addison scored 11 goals and 54 assists for the second straight season. After being eliminated in the playoffs, he joined AHL Wilkes-Barre for the end of their season, where he chipped in 2 assists in 3 games and proved that he's an agile enough skater to compete at the professional level. At just 19 years old, the Penguins should take it slow with him and allow him to return to juniors next season, where he will become one of the best D-men in the WHL and will surely take on a huge role with Canada at the World Juniors. For the San Jose Sharks, Ryan Merkley. Although he was rumored to have problems with his temper, the Sharks drafted the insanely gifted offensive defenseman 21st overall last draft. After a great showing in rookie and main camp, he was returned to the OHL, where he split the season between Guelph and Peterborough. He maintained his offensive threat despite the trade, but was eliminated from the playoffs in just 5 games. He's still just 18 years old, so he has plenty of time before he's NHL ready, but his puck skills and his dynamic skating ability will continue to progress over the next couple of years. For the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Kyrou. I thought Kyrou was going to have a strong rookie season in the NHL this year, but he clearly wasn't ready for the big league yet. He made the Blues at a training camp, however he scored just 1 goal and 2 assists in the first 16 games of the year, so he was sent down to AHL San Antonio, where he began to take over and find his offensive touch, scoring 43 points in 47 games. As a 21-year-old, I still think Kyrou will be ready for a top 9 role next season and should be competitive offensively. He's 6 foot and can play on the wing and at center. However, with a deep St. Louis offense, expect the 21-year-old to be in that third-line wing next season. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, Cal Foote. Their first-round pick in 2017 has continued his development over the past couple of seasons. The 6'4" defenseman made his pro debut this year with the Syracuse Crunch. Although he started the season slow, once he got some confidence, he showed his remarkable skating ability despite his size. He has a steady two-way game, he's strong enough to knock you off the puck in the D-zone, and he put up 31 points in 76 games. He's still 20 years old, so the Lightning could take it slow with him, but there's certainly a spot for him on the team if he can earn it in training camp. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, Rasmus Sandin. As an 18-year-old rookie defenseman in the AHL, Sandin set all sorts of records. Although he doesn't have the offensive flash of Liljegren, Sandin still stands out with his puck-moving ability. Across 44 games, Sandin scored 6 goals and 22 assists. In the playoffs, his confidence took over as he recorded an astounding 10 assists across their 13 playoff games. He brings a surprising physical presence despite being just 5'11", and in all honesty may not be that far away from the Leafs roster. For the Vancouver Canucks, Quinn Hughes. After being taken 7th overall last summer by the Canucks, the electric defenseman has made teams that pass on him regret their selection. He was elite on all levels this season, scoring above a point per game at the University of Michigan before turning pro and recording 3 assists in his first 5 NHL games. His speed and hockey sense is outstanding, and his quick feet separates him from most blue liners in the league. In his short NHL stint, he was a clear difference maker, and his speed put him on a different level. He's the epitome of the modern-day NHL defenseman with his hockey sense and puck-moving abilities, and this will allow him to fit right in out of training camp. Expect him to play around 20 minutes per game next season with a top 4 role in Vancouver. For the Vegas Golden Knights, Cody Glass. Despite some injury issues, the first draft selection in team history continues to look like the center for the future in Vegas. In 38 WHL games this season, Glass dominated with 15 goals and 54 assists for a nice total of 69 points in 38 games, and was often called too good for the league. He was consistent for Canada at the World Juniors, scoring 6 points in 5 games for them, but failing to medal. At the conclusion of his WHL season, he joined Vegas' AHL affiliate Chicago for the end of the regular season and playoff run, where he was near a point per game with 5 points in the final 6 games of the season. So far in their playoff run, Glass doesn't look out of place with 12 points in 17 games for the Wolves as they are nearing the finals for the Calder Cup. The 6'2" playmaker is a great skater, highly skilled, and will be in Vegas' top 9 and at the start of next season. For the Washington Capitals, Ilya Samsonov. Although the Caps are another team with a horrible prospect pool, it does seem they found Braden Holtby's successor in Ilya Samsonov. After 3 years of strong performances in the KHL, Samsonov made his North American transition this season, playing for Hershey in the AHL. He did struggle for parts this year, as the transition to the smaller ice surface can be very difficult for goaltenders. He averaged an .898 save percentage across 37 games, proving that he needs more time in the AHL before he's NHL ready. The good thing is that he's just 22 years old, and Braden Holtby has shown no signs of regressing, so there's really no need to rush his development. For the Winnipeg Jets, Christian Vesalainen. The 24th overall pick from 2017 was a surprise to make the Jets at a camp. However, after just 1 assist through the first 5 games, he was sent down to AHL Manitoba. He played in 22 games for the Moose, scoring 4 goals and 9 assists before exercising a clause in his contract that would allow him to return to the KHL. So he spent the rest of the season playing for Jokerit, where he scored 17 points across 31 games. The 6'3" winger has the ability to mold into a top 9 power forward at the NHL level, but he just turned 20 years old, so he's likely another year away. So what do you guys think of this list? Who do you disagree with? Make sure to comment down below, subscribe, and like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.